Hello, little witchlings and princelings, and welcome to your weekly coven summoning. My name is Ilsa.
And my name is Stacy.
And we're
Caffeine and Conjuring, a fantasy bookish podcast where we will discuss some of our favorite fantasy reads.
And for today's episode, we'll be talking about episodes 1 through 14. So if you haven't read up to chapter 14,
go and read.
Or you will get major spoilers.
Massive. So with this episode, we're going to break it down into each chapter. We'll give a little synopsis of each chapter. That's where the spoilers come in. And then we'll just sort of discuss it a bit, compare things, theories, thoughts, characters, just things that stood out to us in the chapter, I guess.
Yeah.
Do you want me to start with chapter 1?
Sure.
So chapter 1, we meet Celaena. She's a young assassin who's been enslaved in the salt mines of Endovir for a year and is unexpectedly retrieved by Captain Cale Westfall of the Royal Guard. He escorts her through a confusing maze of hallways and stairs, a tactic designed to disorient her. Celaena, however, notices their deliberate attempts to confuse her and remains unimpressed. She is curious about their intentions, but also wary, as she doesn't know what to expect. Cale takes her to a heavily guarded room where she is surprised to find the Crown Prince Dorian Havillard waiting for her. I'm going to butcher the pronunciations. I'm just going to put that out there.
Big warning about that. Neither one of us are good with pronunciations, and as much as we have a pronunciation guide, we're still going to fuck them up.
We're narrow spicy. We can't. It just goes in and out.
So what are your first thoughts on Celaena?
So literally the very first note I made was, okay, I'm sold. She's a badass.
Fair.
Yeah. Because, like, you do get that almost like a bit of teenage angst from her. Like, she does seem very kind of like full of herself, but rightfully so. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but she definitely does seem like an 18-year-old. Like, that was what I was getting, but she is definitely best.
You can imagine how I felt with Assassin's Blade, where it takes place prior and dealing with her like years ago. Yeah.
When the trauma's fresh.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's one thing that I noticed about this chapter is that it really just nosedives into it. You don't get a whole lot of backstory. So there's like names being thrown at you. There's places. There's events that I know you get from Assassin's Blade.
But I mean, that's like with any fantasy. Like, there's always a lot thrown at you right at the beginning, and you will get used to it. Like, by the end of the first book, you'll have most of the names down, most of the places down. So you would still kind of feel like that with Assassin's Blade, because not only, like, the people you meet in Assassin's Blade over the 5 short stories, you meet through the actual series, through, like, the entire series.
Oh, okay.
So I feel like that reading that first, it's even more names kind of thrown at you.
I can see that.
And like, a few of them are mentioned briefly. They're not known as important yet. Mm-hmm. And then you get to the part of the story where they're there more, and it's more natural, I guess.
Okay.
Because there is a lot of people in this book. A lot of characters, a lot of places, a lot of crazy names. Yeah. Thank you, Sarah. You're great at that.
Yeah, I'm glad I switched over to the audiobook for this, because the pronunciations was not what was going through my head when I was reading it.
Yeah, it's giving Reese all over again.
Yeah. Reese.
I'm not finding out his name is pronounced Reese until the last book, when Rysand is in my mind.
Yeah. I'm glad I didn't really have that, because I wasn't very far into it when we had that discussion. So I was able to correct it in my head.
Yeah.
So now it is automatically Reese. Like,
yeah. But I'm mostly always all the time Reese now.
Yeah.
Every now and then I'll fumble and it's still Rysand. Rysand.
Ooh, boy. That's what we're going to be like with this.
Oh, yeah.
Whole... As
we said, neurospicy, the mind's going to be everywhere. We'll be talking about Harry Potter now the once.
Yeah, so I say highlighted, but I tabbed, because I'm still iffy on writing in my book, even though it's in very rough condition.
Yeah, I made the decision to make some highlights in my untouched hardcovers, and it hurts, but it's helpful.
You just have to look at it that it just makes it more special for you. Like, would you have ever sold?
Probably
your
not.
set?
Like, even if I bought the other set, because I do like the look of the other set, I still probably would have kept these because I'm that kind of person.
Mm-hmm.
And I might just get the different dust covers for these.
Oh, they're so pretty. The only thing that I really highlighted in chapter 1 was just the part where she says when she awoke every morning, she repeated the same words, "I will not be afraid." That was literally all that I highlighted. What? Did you do
Nothing.
Huh?
I highlighted that too. Yeah. She will not be afraid.
I have a feeling that we're going to come back to that. Or it's going to be repeated. Is this like another, oh my god, this is going to be another, my friends are with me and I'm not or something. What is it?
Oh, don't give me that trauma again. My friends are with me and I'm not afraid.
Yes.
For anyone who doesn't know, that is from Crescent City.
Yeah.
Little Lahaba. Lahaba? Lahaba.
Lahaba.
Again, thank you, Sarah, for the names.
So the fact that she is 18 is bonkers.
Yeah.
So the fact that Kale is like taking her up the stairs and around the hallways and like obviously like really trying to disorient her, and she's just like, it's a good tactic, but it's not going to work on me. Like, she's literally so confident, and like the way that she assesses like every situation that I've noticed so far in all the chapters that we've read, like she's so quick to assess any situation, and it's pretty cool. She's only 18.
She's 18 and she's considered Adarlans, if I'm screwing that name up, don't come for me, Adarlan's most notorious assassin.
Yeah.
Like, that's quite the title to have at 18.
Yeah. So we find out that she survived a year in the salt mine so far. Okay.
At the end of the chapter, we don't know his name. We just know he is the prince of...
Oh, and can we just appreciate this for a second? How she even says, "Sat a handsome young man." She thinks he's handsome.
So do a lot of people.
But I like how she has that like girlish quality about her, because she does notice Kale's like attraction to him as well. Like she knows that like he is like ruggedly. So it's cute getting that side of her, because you know that like she's a badass, but then she's like, oh, but he's so handsome. And she's noticing the color of Kale's hair, stuff like that, right? Like it's still like such a classic like 18-year-old girl.
So when me and Stacey were kind of bringing stuff up the other day, she mentioned like, oh, it's weird like reading all this, hearing all these characters and not knowing if they're going to be reoccurring characters. Mm-hmm. And then I'm over here with all the knowledge. So there's always little tidbits of information that I just want to like...
I know Kale is around for a bit. I know that name. But that's it.
And why do you know that name?
Why do I know that name?
Do you remember anything about why you know that name?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I literally have the memory of a goldfish. Did you send me something that had the audio with him?
I don't think so.
No, that might have been.
I can't see me sending you anything,
no.
Kale, without you reading it. I think the most I ever sent to you was the So Lorcan did.
Yeah. And that was after you found out that I already knew about it.
Yeah.
Or of it. Yeah. Well, so she's standing in front of him now. Would you like to lead us into chapter 2?
Sure. So chapter 2, Celaena is brought before the Crown Prince, Dorian Havillard. She refuses to bow to him, resulting in a physical confrontation with Duke Barrington, a nobleman. Dorian intervenes, showcasing his authority and more subtle understanding of power dynamics. Celaena and Dorian engage in a battle of wits, each sizing the other up. Dorian reveals his purpose, to offer Celaena a chance to earn her freedom.
What are your feelings on this chapter?
Yeah, Celaena has that very, like, fuck you attitude to new people especially, and new men especially, it seems. I love the banter with her and Dorian. Like, at this point, it's still in the saucy phase. Just, like, both are saucy. Like, they both have that same mentality, same kind of response engraved in them. And it starts to show in this chapter.
And especially at the start of this chapter, she thinks she's there to be hung or to be executed. Like she doesn't know why she's there right now. So she's like, worst case scenario, she's heading to the gallows. Like that's what her. So yeah, she's planning on going down swinging. Like she's not.
She has nothing to lose.
Exactly.
And...
Yeah, because when Duke Parrington, like she says, bow to him indeed. If she were bound for the gallows, she would most certainly not spend the last moments of her life in groveling submission. So like she's that pissed me off so much when he like tried to like force her. But
when he just like grabbed her and just like flung her to the ground. She said like her face was just like into the marble on the floor.
But Dorian's response to that was like okay, sir.
Where Dorian stands over here.
For now, I don't know what comes of him, but for now, I like him.
When I say I'm a stan or not, I will say it as how I currently felt reading this when I read it for the first time, not how I feel now after reading it all. So keep that there. I do want to have some feelings towards characters, and it's not going to be swayed by what happens later in the books, because otherwise I'm going to be giving spoilers, or I'm just not going to have a response, in which case you're going to know something's up. So
I'll try not to look into it too far.
Yeah, if I say anything that might be like, really? You like this one? Yeah, if I say anything that seems like it might like a certain person, even though most people don't like them at the end, chances are I don't actually like them. I'm just playing along. It's like when you get them to read ACOTAR for the first time, and...
Whoa, careful. He who shall not be named, we pretend we like him.
Yeah. You gaslight your friends into liking certain characters for the full effect.
I'm so afraid. And
I'm not saying that either of these characters are that. I'm just stating that now while we're talking about characters.
A little disclaimer for future characters. Yeah. Okay, fair.
Yeah, this is going to be really painful to hold in spoilers, so I gotta really reel it in.
That's fair. So the way that like Dorian responds to Duke Parrington and his pushing her down and stuff, I just have to read it out because it is probably so far one of my favorite quotes. But he says, "It's clear that you respect me, Duke Parrington, but it's a bit unnecessary to put such effort into forcing Celaena Sardothien to have the same opinion. You and I know very well she has no love for my family, so perhaps your intent is to humiliate her. But I think she's had enough of that." Oh, yes, she has, and it's so nice that he recognized that. So yeah, like you were saying too, you do get a lot of that back and forth between her and Dorian. But I do like, this is a chapter that he's like sizing her up.
Yeah.
And he asks about her scars. He wants her to turn around. Let me view your back. And it's so good. But he says at one point where he says, there are 3 large scars and perhaps some smaller ones. Not as awful as I expected, but, well, the dresses can cover it, I suppose. And she's like, dresses? Like, what? Yeah.
It's like the moment she starts to realize, like, oh shit, like, I'm not dying.
Yeah.
Something is happening. They need me for something.
Yeah. Like, what? What do you need her for? He's like, I have a proposition for you. And I'm just like, oh, okay. Let's go.
Yes.
Yes, I do.
1,000 times. Yes. We read way too much romance and fantasy.
We do. I know.
Our minds are just mush.
Yeah, so at the end of this episode, we still don't know what it is that she's being offered. It just ends with her saying, I'm listening. So I do like that she's, there's a little
badass.
There's a little flicker of hope here too, where she's just like, okay, I'm listening. Our girl's getting some hope. Okay. So chapter 3, Dorian actually makes his offer to Celaena to compete in a tournament to become the king's champion. And if she wins, she'll be granted her freedom after a period of service to the king. Celaena is hesitant, aware of dangers involved, but the allure of freedom is too strong to resist. She accepts the challenge, setting the stage for a dangerous and potentially life-changing competition. He dangled that F word.
Yeah, very much so.
And, like, how could she say no to that, right?
Yeah.
So, basically, she's going to be, if she wins this competition, this tournament, she's just going to be doing all the king's like dirty work, right? Like that's...
She's basically the king's own little assassin.
Yeah. I mean, that's not too bad of a gig.
I mean, when you're already Adarlan's most notorious assassin, why not get paid to murder some big guys?
Right.
Just secure that bag.
Oh, okay. So this is the chapter where I marked my first foreshadowing thing. Because we find out that nobody knows that she's the assassin.
Everyone thinks she's older and not an 18-year-old girl.
Yeah. He says, you kept your identity a secret all the years you were running around killing everyone. After your trial, my father thought it would be wise not to inform Aurelia who you are. He wants to keep it that way. What would our enemies say if they knew we'd all been petrified of a girl? Yeah. So I marked that because I feel like there's more going on here. One of my possibly wild theories, possibly correct, who knows?
Let me put on my poker face here.
I won't look at you.
Okay.
I think she's been set up, that this has all been somehow a way for the king to get her under his thumb right from the get-go. Something to do with that. That's my thoughts. I'll go a little more into detail further in the chapters, like once we get a little more knowledgeable about things in her past. Yeah. I like how the chapter ends with her saying, yes, she would go to Rifthold to anywhere, even through the gates of the word into the hell itself, if it meant freedom. Like, she is desperate for this, which makes sense. I mean, have we talked about how people only normally last 3 months?
I think it's mentioned with the general lifespan of someone who enters Endovier salt mines. It's about like a month, 2 months. It's not very long, and she was there over a year.
A year? Like,
getting whipped and beaten.
I was going to say, she's obviously in really rough shape.
Yeah. So chapter 4, Celaena is left alone in her luxurious chambers, a stark contrast to her harsh conditions in the salt mines. She reflects on her past, the events that led to her capture, and the loss of her former life. The softness of the bed and the unfamiliar comforts of her new surroundings feels foreign to her. She struggles to reconcile her present situation with the harsh realities she's endured.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. Like, you see that a lot in people that come from a traumatic experience, like, whether they're used to sleeping on the floor somewhere or something. Then when they get switched to, like, sleeping in a bed, they can't do it. Like, It takes them a while. I'm glad that she did that she wrote it that way, because it just made it more realistic instead of just, like, she was all...
Yeah, she just fell into the feather bed and had the best sleep for life.
Yeah, like, that wouldn't have been realistic at all. And same thing with, like, the food. Like, she tries to eat, but... Gets sick, yeah. Because all that she's been used to eating is just, like, soggy oats.
Yeah.
Ugh. Yeah, this is the chapter where it really goes into, to show, like, how poor she looks and, like, her health. So, like, it talks about how, like, she's just...
Her eyes are sunken in. Yeah. Her ribs are protruding. And...
Yeah. But, man, she is determined, though, because she says there that she took steadying breaths, savoring the hope. She'd eat a lot and exercise. She could be healthy again. Imagining outrageous feasts and regaining her former glory, she finally fell asleep. There's that hope again.
Yeah.
Yep.
In this chapter, we learn a little more about Cale, too. We learn that he's 22, and he became captain of the guard at age 20.
Yeah.
So
he's another young, successful...
People in this book are very successful at a young age.
Oh, I did like... again, there's more banter and back and forth between her and Cale in this chapter, because when he does say how old he is, 22, she's like, oh, so young, and she bats her eyelashes. It only took a few years to climb the ranks. He nodded and he said, and how old are you? And she said 18, but he said nothing. I know, she continued. It is impressive that I accomplished so much at such an early age. And then he says crime isn't an accomplishment.
Kale is always so bitter about her being an assassin. Like,
yeah, I mean, they have some pretty great back and forth.
Kale knows she's an assassin, but still is shocked when she does assassin things. That's the big joke with him. So he's just like,
yeah,
he knows, but he's still shocked by it when it happens. It's like, what did you expect?
Yeah, he seems, I can see that. Yeah. And then chapter 5. So they leave Endovier in this chapter. It's them and a group of royal guards, and she's struck by the beauty of the sunrise. That was so sad because it was like her first time seeing the sun in a year.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, so as they journey through Oakwald Forest, Celaena senses the lingering magic of the ancient Fae kingdom, hinting at a deeper connection to the supernatural. She engages in a conversation with the guards, revealing her knowledge of the forest history and legends. So this is the chapter where we already know, I think, before this chapter, but if not this chapter, that like there's no more magic in the world.
Yeah.
Right? Supposedly. So even though like we know that there's no magic anymore, which by the way, that's weird. I'm just saying, because apparently, yeah, the king, right?
Oh.
How he hunted down all of the fairy and the fae. So this is a chapter that we learned that there were other creatures, other races, species, that he started like hunting them down and executing them. Gnomes, sprites, nymphs, goblins, all ruled by their larger human-like cousins, the immortal fae. The king had claimed that magic was an affront to the goddess and her gods, that to wield it was to impertinently imitate their power. And within a month of his proclamation, magic had completely and utterly disappeared of its own accord. Perhaps it had realized what horrors were coming. So that floored me. That there was magic and then it was just gone because he was just like, But this is what I was talking about. So she woke up and there were small white flowers laying at the foot of her cot.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Many infant-sized footprints led in and out of the tent. Before someone could enter and notice, Celaena swept a foot over the tracks, destroying any trace, and stuffed the flowers into a nearby satchel. What? I want to see them. But it's so subtle. Like, it's just that one little paragraph.
You'll find that a lot in this book.
Yeah. Yeah, so we get, like, a little taste of the magic side of things here now. Like, what happened to it. And a little bit of foreshadowing. Yeah.
So for chapter 6, we know that they've been traveling for about 2 weeks, and they can see the glass castle of Riffhold in the distance. Celaena reveals that she expects she was betrayed by another assassin, and that's how she was captured and ended up in Endovier.
I did not realize that they were traveling for 2 weeks. Like, that just, wow. I must have kind of overlooked that little piece. Okay. We aren't very far into the book. And it's already, like, 2 weeks later.
Yeah, there's a bit of time jumping.
Yeah. Yeah, I see that.
It's not like Game of Thrones level of time jumping where they're traveling from the capital city and then poof, they're at the wall.
As close, but not quite.
Yeah.
So this is where we find out, like you said, that it was another assassin, right? That
she suspects it was another assassin is the reason that she got captured. She doesn't know for sure, but like she's very cocky about it. She's like, I was the best around. People would have a lot to gain by making sure I was at the picture and make her a pretty big target for someone in her field of work to want to take out. She got the big clients and the big pays and
makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
I still think the king had something to do with it. That's my story and I'm sticking to it. We'll see how it evolves from here, but that's what I'm thinking. Do you have anything else to say about?
No. Again, that was chapter 7 was a really small chapter, I think.
Yeah. It was this ending. Okay. So Dorian is watching her from his spot on the other side of the sleeping company. And he notices that there's something sad about her. He noticed she's sitting so still with her legs against her chest, the moonlight coloring her hair silver. And he found her beautiful.
Will they or won't they?
If a bit strange and sour.
What do you think?
I feel like obviously I should say yes. Like I think that they will, but I don't know if that's right or wrong. I think they will. That's my vote.
So I'm gonna give you 3 options for will they, won't they.
Oh God.
I want your answers to all 3.
Okay.
Just out of curiosity.
Okay.
So we'll start with Kale. Will they or won't they?
No.
Dorian.
Yes.
The king.
What the fuck?
We love a good villain story.
I'm picturing the king as like a very old man.
Lord Farquaad. Lord
Yes.
Farquaad?
Yes, exactly. So I'm going to say no, but I feel like because that was a question, it's a yes.
That's how I felt about the King of Highburn, and then I see the fan art for his photo, and he was gorgeous.
Yeah.
And I was
that's not who I was picturing.
no, I don't like that.
But I feel like so far from what I know about Celaena and Kale, they almost have the banter of siblings. They seem to have a familial connection. That might change. They might change, but that's what I'm getting so far. I'm probably going to get really weirded out. But anyways, so he thinks that she's beautiful, and he lay down, his hand still upon his sword, and fell asleep. Still, the image haunted his dreams throughout the night, a lovely girl gazing at the stars, and the stars who gazed back.
Doesn't that remind you of a quote from Akhtar?
Yeah. Oh, I just loved it so much. I'm okay. So chapter 7, Celaena gets chambers in the stone castle, complete with bedroom, bathing chamber, dressing room, dining room. Dining room? She even got a dining room in that? I knew there was a music room and gaming room. I thought that was so cool. And then she meets Philippa. What is the last name?
Spindlehead.
So she meets Philippa Spindlehead, who's her personal servant.
I'm sorry, of all the unique names that Sarah gives her characters, she comes up with Spindlehead for a side character. Philippa Spindlehead.
Yes. Oh.
Anyway, sorry.
I mean, every series needs its Vivian from Akhtar.
Oh.
What was her name?
Callias's wife?
Yeah.
Yeah, Vivian.
Vivian, yeah. Yeah, so apparently every SJM series needs its bland named character.
Philippa's bland enough.
Yeah. Fair enough. Spindlehead. Where am I?
Spindlehead.
And Dorian goes to see his father, the king, who warns him to keep his distance from Celaena. Again, see, this is where it's coming down to where I think the king has a shit ton to do with Celaena being put into the mines. So I love Philippa. I thought that her whole character, the way that she just was taking no shit from Celaena.
Absolutely.
She just, you're just a girl.
Yeah. Do all maids have a bad attitude as you? And they're well, they put me with you for a reason. I died.
Yeah. She is fantastic.
Yeah.
I hope there's more of her in the book. This is a long chapter. Chapter 7 was a long chapter. But yeah, we get more between Dorian and the king, obviously. The king says, I'm not playing and this is not a game. Though she may look pleasant, she's still a witch. You are to keep your distance, understood? Yeah. What are your thoughts?
I don't really have much to say about that chapter, even though it was a long chapter.
Yeah.
It was just A lot of it was just setting building.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's just kind of getting you into the castle, and
you get like a little bit of back and forth between Dorian and the king, but it's not a whole lot. And then the king's like, "Oh, she's a witch. Stay away from her. Don't let your cock be your brain." Basically,
think with this head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So on to chapter 8. Celaena gets Chaol to give her a tour of the castle. Learns a little bit about Queen Georgina and Dorian's younger brother Holland, who comes across as kind of like Joffrey?
Oh, yeah.
Joffrey from Game of Thrones.
Oh.
They make a little comment about him being like 11 years old and then killing one of his servants because something wasn't hot enough for... I can't remember the exact thing that happened, but anyways, they walk past the clock tower in the gardens, made of black stone with 8 gargoyles on it, and finds a mark on the floor near it. That is something I have highlighted, but I can't talk about at the moment. Chaol shows her to the library with over 1 million books. Swoon. And we learn Celaena loves to read. She sends Dorian a letter requesting to borrow some of the books. He gets her reply and sends her the books that he most recently read and enjoyed so she can read them and discuss them with him.
Look at their little
I love
buddy
it
reads.
so much. With that little back and forth they did when Chaol was like, the library is just for the king and the prince. You need an invitation to read anything from it. And she's like, oh, well, give me a pen and paper and let me sort this out. Yeah. And then, of course, Dorian, being the little princeling that he is, obliges immediately.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. Chaol seemed like so, like, offended that she wrote him to ask for books. It's like, you don't do that.
I love how quick Dorian was about it, too. It was, like, so fast. Just, like, a pile of books. And not even from the regular library. It was from his own personal library.
Yeah. Oh. This is also the chapter where she's getting some like commentary from other people, like the 2 women saying, "I don't need to worry, the woman mused. The prince's harlot won't be well received." And she's like, "His what?" Yeah. The woman hurried off as the prince's harlot strode into her chambers and called for her servants to dress her in the finest gown they could find. I love how saucy she is. Yeah. But I also find, like, something that I've noticed with her, too, is that even her inner dialogue is so secretive. Like, we're in your head. Just tell us all your secrets. Let us know. But this is exciting. Chapter 9 and 10, people in the palace think that Celaena is Dorian's lover. Taken with like the other competitors to see the king. She will compete for 13 weeks. Will be tested every week and people eliminated during each test. So this is like Hunger Games on crack. Yeah. Like that was the vibe I was getting. And the 4 remaining competitors at the end will compete in a duel to win the title. Celaena will be known as Lillian Gordania. I don't know. Daughter of a wealthy merchant and a jewel thief.
And then we meet Lady Caltaine.
Yeah.
Rompier.
I would not be able to tell you how her last name is.
Caltaine Rompier. We'll go with that.
Sure. Yeah. And Chaol tells her she looks rather pretty today. Oh.
I love how they have the whole castle thinking she's his new lover brought in from wherever, and rubbing it in Caltaine's face is like the icing on the cake.
Oh, yeah. And Dorian goes along with it in front of her.
Yeah, especially when the comments made about like, oh, her and Chaol are getting cozy and should be well occupied while they're here, but maybe not as occupied as me and her would be, or however that line went.
Yeah. I like how almost offended Celaena was by like what her fake identity is. Like the fact that a jewel thief. Yeah. It's so beneath her. Yeah. But I do like the idea of how Kale, I think it's Kale, talks to her about like not being signaled out in the competitions.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she has to
try to stay like in the middle, don't want to show off.
Yeah.
So they won't look at you as a threat and you'll just eventually get knocked out of the competition. They don't need to go directly after you.
Yeah. Yeah, because like she is so ready to just show that like she can do this, that she can win. Like she's got that mentality. And they're just like, no, you don't. You need to stay in the middle, know your spot.
You just want her to take her dagger and just like right between Kane's eyes. And
yeah, like
she could easily take the whole group of them out, and that's how it should have gone.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay, chapter 11. What do we have?
11 and 12. So we're introduced to Theodos Burlow, weapons master and judge of the competition. We're also introduced to a few of the other competitors. So we have Kane, who is Duke Parrington's. We have Xavier, who is a master thief. We have Knox Owen, who's also a thief. Bill Chastain and Ned Clement, who are murderers. Grave, who is another assassin. And Pelor, the youngest assassin. So we get to see a little bit about what our competitors are like and what she's up for in the coming weeks.
Who do you think she's... Okay. If you didn't read the books before, who do you think is her, like, most... her competition, like, her biggest...
So they definitely push for Kane being the biggest competition. He's the big, scary, beefy meathead who murders for breakfast, like, drinks the tears of children for a snack. Like...
Oh boy. Yeah.
Right, they give him that kind of, and then he's supported by Duke Parrington, who we know is just to be like the asshole on the royal court. So they definitely push that, and I would say that's probably her biggest competitor. Mm-hmm. The other ones don't, even the one that eats the eyeballs, don't come nearly as close to being in a range where they could take her on.
Especially not after a couple chapters. Dun, dun, dun. So in chapter 13, Celaena meets Nemia Yetgar. She's a princess of Eelway, and Celaena can speak Eelway to her. And we find out that Nehemia, that's what it is.
Yeah.
So we find out that Nehemia is there by request of her father and wants her to learn their ways.
But Celaena also talks about that she recognizes Nehemia's name and her family's name, and that being related to the rebels. And basically she thinks that Nehemia might be here under other circumstances. Either trying to get some information, do some snooping, take them down from the inside kind of deal.
And this is what we were talking about with, what's her name again? Kaltain.
Yeah.
Because she's, like, so rude.
100%.
To Nehemia. like I just wanted to just push her down the stairs. Like, And I love, like, how they were finally able to converse back and forth when she found out that Celaena could speak Eelway. And she was just like, I want you. And she's like, but, you already have, like, so many attendants or whatever. She's like, no, like, I want you as a
friend, like, someone to talk to.
Yeah, not as an attendant. Like, I like that, because now we have somebody on her side.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think we're starting to get a little bit of feelings between Kale and Celaena, because he's, like, staring at her. And she's like, you're staring, Captain. Oh, sir. And he's like, you have food in your teeth. I'm like, no. You like her. So yeah, the brother-sister dynamic that I was feeling from them is pretty well gone at this point. But we'll see. I still think something's going to happen between her and Dorian.
Stop looking at my face when you're wondering something. So, in chapter 14, Bill Chastain was found murdered, ripped wide open, and described as being ripped to shreds. Celaena begins to help Knox with his training, and we get a little more of a look into Kale's childhood. He's been friends with Dorian since they were young boys. His father moved him back to Aniel at 13. He abdicated his title of lord to his brother and came back to Rithold to train with the captain of the guard. Celaena reveals her parents died when she was 8. She has a scar on her right hand from when Arobynn made her break it so she could learn to use her left hand. He gave her the choice, either I break it or you break it. So she spent weeks only being able to use her left hand.
Yeah. Our girl went through some shit.
Yep. And Arobynn is a treat.
Yeah, she was 12 when that happened.
Yep. We started training her when he found her at 8 years
At
old,
8.
being an assassin. So you can only imagine everything that entailed.
Yeah. Who finds an 8-year-old and it's just like, you're ready for training.
Yeah. Go stab that one in the gut.
Yeah. Man. So we end chapter 14. Chaol is leaving her for the night. And the first test is in the morning. Or the first test is tomorrow. He asks if she's ready and she says, of course.
She lies.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on what we read so far? As a whole?
As a whole, it was a great start. Like, I am very intrigued. I cannot wait to see where the story goes. Can't wait to learn more about all the characters that we're seeing. I feel like I have a good idea or understanding of Celaena's character. I really like her. She's, like I said, my first note was she's a badass. I can't wait to, like, delve more into her past.
Mm-hmm.
To know who she was before all this. And the king is driving me batty.
Going back to learning about Celaena's past, do you have any thoughts or theories of other things about her past that might be important to the story?
Hold on. Let me read my theories. So, I think I've already touched on this one about Celaena's escape attempt and subsequent capture. Raises questions about the circumstances surrounding her imprisonment. Was she truly betrayed by someone she trusted, or was her capture orchestrated for a greater purpose? So that is where I'm thinking the king has quite a bit more to do with her encounter with the fairies in Oakwold Forest. That really, I'm very intrigued by that. Like, that I think is going to, obviously, that one little paragraph. We're going to circle back to it, I know. What was it that you asked? About her past, right?
Yeah.
I don't have anything wrote down. But what I think about her past. There's obviously more to her than just being an 18-year-old girl. Like, there's obviously a lot. Because why is she able to survive a year in the salt mines? And, like, the guards there are trained to kill people from, like they can't get more than 3 feet.
Yeah, and she made it.
And she made it
the wall.
Yeah, she made it 360 feet, right? Like, how like, that's not just normal human. So, and I know, like, they did say throughout the chapters that the king says, like, she's a witch, but we're gonna have to circle back to this. Give me another few chapters to...
By our next episode, we'll have some more theories.
Yeah.
I unfortunately can't give any theories.
We'll see what happens in the next set of chapters. But right now, I'm just fully loving the whole world building. I'm still doing that thing in my brain where I'm trying to connect parts of this story with ACOTAR or Crescent City. Like not necessarily, like, I'm not like the worlds or anything like that, but just, I don't know. I did the same thing when I read Crescent City. Little things were coming up and I was just like, oh, ACOTAR, right? Like, and I find myself, like, still wanting to do that with this book.
Yeah, you're not going to see that as much for this book, especially where you haven't read the third Crescent City. There is one thing in particular that could be picked up on, but it's, like, literally such a minuscule thing you would never think to remember it.
Yeah, I probably won't notice it.
Yeah, most people didn't. I remember seeing the TikToks, and they were like, this is a thing?
Yeah. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's going to be a really fun year.
I want to say, like, ask who your favorite character is.
I do remember who I was enjoying, what I was enjoying while reading these. I was very strong in some feelings, and I was definitely a Dorian girly.
Okay. Yeah. See, I think listening to the audiobook kind of not ruined it for me, but
just having female author voice Dorian.
Yeah, she made him sound very prissy.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's not the vibe not truly the vibe I get from like reading it. He's a little sassy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now I just feel like I'm a Kale girly. I just pick the brutish people. What do you think? Is there anything else that you want to touch on? Man, those first 14 chapters went by quick.
Yeah. I'm excited to get into it. There's so much that happens in the series, like so much. And it's all so good. Like there are like I like doing the tandem read because one of the two books I do find more boring than the other. And the story is so good. And like the fact that she was 16 when she started writing this, and like obviously she was older when she wrote the later ones, but
yeah, that floors me.
Yeah, just have that thought process and be able to come up with this when you're 16. Like,
no, I was reading Harry Potter and changing Wanda Wang when I was 16. So there's no way that 16-year-old Stacey could write something like this.
So that's about it for this episode. Our next episode we'll be reading chapters 15 to 28. So make sure you get reading before November 19th. That'll be when our next episode airs.
And with that, our Coven summoning comes to a close. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button on Spotify or Apple Podcasts.
And follow Caffeine and Conjuring on Instagram and TikTok to stay up to date on our journey through Throne of Glass.